Because I feel lightheaded.
Take your time, honey. Take your time. Liz. What's wrong with her?
Was she dizzy?
What's wrong with her? Liz, I don't know. Liz.
She's having trouble breathing. I'm gonna get some help.
Liz.
Medical emergency!
Liz.
Gosh. Okay, so my heart hurts. Immediately when I saw this, I watched this with my husband. He was like, what is that? What's going on? What's going on? Hey guys, it's Gianna, Midwifay. Today I wanted to do a little something different and do one of my first react videos. I thought it might be fun to include segments where I react to different videos, movies, whatever you guys want me to react to that has to do with pregnant and birthing people. Today I wanted to react to the movie Fatherhood on Netflix. If you don't know what this movie is about, spoiler alert, this is a movie about a man who raises his daughter after his wife unexpectedly dies immediately postpartum. So it's not going to be a funny react. Unfortunately, it's kind of a heavy topic, but I thought it was really necessary to address this in the wake of the Black maternal mortality crisis in America, as well as just maternal mortality in America in general, and just what I'm seeing come across some patients in my world that I've reacted with. So again, this is me reacting to Fatherhood, the Netflix original movie starring Kevin Hart, among many other stars. Let's have a listen. For this react video, I've got my laptop here. I'm going to be watching it along with you guys and reacting specifically to just the beginning scenes that address Kevin Hart's character, his wife's pregnancy, and the decision that they made to move forward with a C-section, and then of course her unfortunate, very, very sad passing. So I'm just going to react to the beginning of the movie. Here we go.
We have to do this soon.
What do you mean by soon?
The baby's not due for another 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Your amniotic fluid's low, and your daughter's already a healthy size, so let's get her out.
Okay, let's pause right here. It looks like they are at the appointment, they're looking at an ultrasound of the baby, and the doctor is recommending, with urgency, we need to do this soon. The doctor cites low fluid as the reason for delivery. The medical term for low fluid is oligohydramnios. Again, that means low fluid. And in general, oligohydramnios is something that we look at over ultrasounds. It may or may not be an indication for delivery early. Usually, if the baby's growing normally and there's no other comorbidities, we say, with mom or baby, so no hypertensive disorders for mom or diabetes or other structural developmental abnormalities for baby, oligohydramnios isn't necessarily a reason to deliver a baby early. From what the character said, she said 2 weeks away. I'm assuming she's about 38 weeks. So again, not necessarily a reason to deliver that early. Usually we recommend deliveries 39, 40 weeks. Earlier if there's some more serious indications. So low fluid oligohydramnios isn't necessarily a reason for an early delivery. Let's keep listening.
Why not go body surf? It's just our first kid.
Also, she's still breached, so I want to schedule a cesarean for this evening.
For this evening?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I haven't even set up the crib. I didn't even
Are
do
you
that.
serious? See, I knew I should have taken care of it. You told me to take it off my list.
Okay, let me address two things. One, in general, a breech presentation of a baby is a fetal malpresentation. There are not many providers in America that offer vaginal breech deliveries, especially for a first-time mom and especially for induced labors. I can do videos later on breech and options for that if you guys want, but in general, a breech presentation is definitely an indication for a cesarean here in America, so that makes sense as to why she wants to schedule a C-section. Again, the timing probably being around 38 weeks, the indication low fluid. I'm not sure that alone would cause a C-section tonight, the urgency of this. I think this is something that people commonly experience though in the medical system in general, but definitely in obstetrics. And so I would encourage at moments like this that my clients, my friends, use something called the brand technique. I'll do a whole nother video on that, but it's where you kind of take a step back and ask your provider, what are their benefits, risks, alternatives? What if we do nothing? Let's discuss this for a little bit. Okay, brand technique. when people are making recommendations for your care, especially if it's a big shift in your care, you don't, unless it's an emergency right now, you don't necessarily need to listen to exactly what they say. So if they agreed to move forward with a C-section like this provider is recommending, okay, it doesn't need to be tonight. I'm not sure about that. So just a point to kind of address here in this scene as well.
Matt,
Yes, Marion.
I can't see. Come on.
Doing great, Liz.
Might want to look away now, Matt.
It's happening. I want to look, but I don't want to look. But I do want to look, but I don't want to look.
Doing great.
Oh my God. We about to be parents.
Oh, this moment before you meet your baby is so sweet. Gosh.
How we doing, Doc?
Here she comes.
You see the baby?
I do.
Oh my God, Liz.
Yeah, there she is.
I love this musical too. So he cuts the cord here, pausing. Generally, you can't cut the cord over the drape. There's some sterility issues there, but often in the OR, when the baby's at the warmer, kind of with the baby team, they do encourage dads or partners to cut the remainder of the cord, trim the cord, so that could happen. And you could hold the baby in the OR. Even mom can do some holding of the baby in the OR. So now after they had their beautiful birth, we're moving on to the postpartum recovery period. I want to say that it's not clear exactly how far postpartum she is, but it seems pretty immediate, like day one, just in the way that they're acting. She hasn't gotten up to the bathroom yet, etc. Again, it's not clear, but it does seem like the immediate postpartum period. So let's take a look at what's happening here.
How are you doing,
I
Liz?
want to see Maddie.
Hey.
I thought you might.
So I want to point out that her nurse is coming to, looks like, to get her up to ambulate, to walk for the first time. She wants to go see her daughter, Maddie. And a point I want to make is that there are no SCDs on her leg here. Those are the sequential compression devices that you wear after operations in general. There's a lot of reasons in the hospital why people wear those, but it significantly decreases the risk of blood clots. According to the American College of Obstetric and Gynecology, VTE, which is a venous thrombolytic event, that would be a blood clot, are 4 times more likely after a C-section than after vaginal birth. So in general, before a C-section, we put those SCDs on, and they're on until up to when the patient gets up for the first time and is able to walk around. So this is kind of a really big point, a missing point, that she doesn't have those on. Whether that was just a misstep by the producers and the writers, I don't know, or if that was them trying to make a point of they missed this major step, I don't know. But that's a major step in cesareans and preparing for a cesarean and postpartum care for a patient who's had a cesarean, is to have SCDs on. So that's kind of the biggest thing that stands out to me in this scene, is that she doesn't have SCDs on.
Hey,
Take your time.
let's get you to the chair.
For a
Easy.
10K.
Come on.
Because I feel lightheaded.
Take your time, honey. Take your time. Liz. What's wrong with her?
Was she dizzy
What's wrong with
earlier?
Liz? I don't know. Liz.
She's having trouble breathing. I'm gonna get some help.
Liz.
Medical emergency!
Liz.
Gosh. Okay, so my heart hurts. Immediately when I saw this, I watched this with my husband. He was like, "What is that? What's going on? What's going on?" And I immediately thought PE, pulmonary embolism. This is horrible. This is a very rare complication, usually of surgical patients, but can happen in general, of a blood clot that travels from somewhere else in the body up to the lung. I would say this is probably pretty accurate. Thank God I have not taken care of anyone with a PE directly myself, but from all the learning I've done and hearing about other people's experiences, when someone has a pulmonary embolism, it is kind of a very quick escalation of dizziness, I don't feel right, chest pain, I can't breathe, and it kind of is this quick sequence of events. The nurse did everything right by, laying her back down. Usually there's a code button in the room, so she can just push that instead of having to run out the room to say, I need help. But it really can be that fast, you guys, unfortunately, to have something like a pulmonary embolism.
Liz, look at
Give her
me.
some space.
What's wrong with her?
I need an oxygen mask!
Liz.
I need you to step back now. Now.
Wait a second. That's my wife.
She collapsed.
What's going on, my wife?
Start the IV.
Her blood pressure was dropped
Wait a
and
minute.
she got
Liz.
up.
Milligrams of epi.
Wait a minute, man. Liz.
Wait a minute.
Liz.
That scene is so gut-wrenching. So again, it is standard procedure when there is something urgent or emergent going on to have all of the support people out of the room to allow space for the complete medical team to come in and do what they need to do. It's not anything against the support person. It's just, one, physically to have the space, but also two, just the emotional nature of it. In order for the doctors, nurses, everyone to fully act in unison and as a efficient team, they need to be able to focus and do what they need to do. So a lot of things are going on that would be hard for a partner to see, and just to make sure that the team is doing things effectively.
Mr. Loveland,
Hey, what's up, Dad? What's going on, hey?
your wife had a pulmonary embolism. A blood clot traveled to her lung.
What does that mean? What's that mean? Don't tell me my wife is dead. Don't tell me my wife is dead.
What? What? What is it? Is it Maddie? What? Just Matt! No! No!
Oh, so hard to watch. So some great, powerful acting. After they worked on his wife, they came out and explained that all their efforts unfortunately failed and she passed away. And so they explain a little bit about a pulmonary embolism. I'm going to have some information in the comments of this video or in the links, the bio of this video, just explaining the incidence of it. Again, a pulmonary embolism and DVT in general is pretty rare. We are at increased risk for blood clots while we're pregnant, and definitely in the immediate postpartum period while we're resting, and again, especially if we've had a C-section. So it's not no risk, but it is a pretty rare complication. Again, super, super sad scenes. I think they did a really good job of a lot of things, explaining how fast it can happen, how acute it could onset. Again, the only biggest thing I can see in terms of medical negligence or anything is the fact that she was not wearing SCDs. That is huge. And if you're planning a C-section, if you've had a C-section, you have SCDs on, again, before the C-section and up until you're walking regularly after it. So that's a huge preventative measure that we have in place for safety. The rest of the movie goes on to show the beautiful bond between Kevin Hart's character and his daughter, and how he raises her, his struggles, his triumphs, his joys, and just all the changes that they go through together as their little union. It's a really good movie. I encourage you to watch it. The rest of the movie is pretty uplifting and very sweet, but these first scenes, I just really felt the need to react to and kind of explain what I saw happening from the point of view of a medical provider, of a midwife. The other reason I really wanted to film this video was a recent patient interaction I had. I was taking care of a young woman in labor. She was Black, she was in her early 20s, and she came in early labor. The reason we kept her, she wasn't, again, actively in labor yet, was her baby's heart rate didn't look great. For those of us that work in OB, she had category 2 fetal heart tones, so that just means that overall her baby didn't look in distress, but didn't look like she was tolerating labor wonderfully, even in this early phase of labor. This patient, let's call her Rhonda, made it clear to me that she really wanted the fewest interventions possible. She didn't want an epidural, she really didn't want a C-section, and she didn't really give me many reasons as to why, and she wasn't necessarily very prepared for this, but this was her plan. So I stayed with her, I supported her, I kind of helped her along the way. Her baby's heart rate was getting more and more concerning, which necessitated more and more interventions on our part. I sat with her to explain every intervention as they happened. Eventually she made the choice to get an epidural, eventually, you know, agreed to have us break her water, I placed her. We did a lot of work together, she and I told her in the beginning, I said, you know, if anyone's going to be the advocate for you to have the birth you want, it's me. But I will tell you, when and if there gets to a point when I'm concerned for your health or her health, and I will make that very clear. And she heard that. I think she received that. So long story short, towards the end of my shift, her baby's heart rate is getting more and more concerning. Definitely showing us that the baby is not tolerating things and needs to be born sooner than later. I share this with her. My physician backups come in, share the same information. I check her cervix, as I've recently done, to kind of say, look, your cervix is still about 4 to 5 centimeters dilated. I can't give you Pitocin to dilate it more because your baby's heart rate is that concerning. And just really sat with her explaining the recommendation to move forward with a cesarean birth at that time. She was really not receptive to this recommendation, specifically from my physician colleagues. They explained, you know, in their very medical OB way, which is what they should do, the risk of the procedure, the reason they want to do the procedure, the urgency of the procedure. Asked if she had any questions. She kind of just brushed them off and just asked them to leave the room. I also told her, you know what, I'll step out of the room. I'll let you and your boyfriend talk about it, but then I'll be back. So I stepped out. The doctors at the desk were, you know, asking me, is she going to say yes? We're getting concerned about her baby. And I was trying to say, I understand. I'm also concerned. Let me go back in there. A few minutes later, I went back in there with the nurse, and the patient is bawling, like crying her eyes out, on the phone with her sister. And I swear, you guys, she looks at me and she says, I don't want a C-section because if I have a C-section, I will have a blood clot and I will die. And in that moment, I had to fight back tears, and I was like, where is she getting this from? And I had to come back to this movie that is recent. And again, just the general kind of more knowledge that people are having a black maternal health and mortality crisis in America. And I just looked at her straight in the eyes and I said, you know what, Rhonda? I'm a black midwife caring for a black woman. I told you that if there was a time when I got concerned for you or your baby, that I would speak up about that. This is that time. I think that she is not tolerating things. I think that a cesarean birth is the safest thing for her right now. And I'm here. We will listen to you. We will listen to any complaint that you have. You are in the right place. We will take care of you. And that was all that I could think to say to her in that moment. She eventually agreed to the cesarean, although it was not her plan. There were no complications, thank goodness, with her surgery. Her baby overall did need some support when she was born. She didn't have to go to the NICU, but she did get some extra oxygen and different interventions. I followed up with Rhonda a couple days later via phone call. She was doing okay, you know, still struggling with her birth story, but was doing okay. I reviewed different warning signs and things I'd want her to call immediately about if she experienced any of them. You know, that was just a powerful patient scenario I had that really made me think how prominent this is in a lot of people's minds today, and how movies like this can shed light on a real problem. And I think that, you know, us as obstetrical providers, medical providers in general, maybe don't know that people are coming from this lens when they are in different situations. I don't think that the team I was with that night, the different doctors I was with, the residents, really knew that this is what Rhonda's main concern was, that she was going to die if she had a C-section. I tried to bring it up. You know, it's really hard in these moments, and I pray for strength every day to be able to advocate and say what I need to say to help educate people. But I just urge all of us as birth workers, as OB providers, when we're caring for a black woman during her pregnancy, during labor, please know that she is becoming increasingly aware of the black maternal mortality disparities in our country. And there are movies like this, documentaries, other things that are becoming increasingly popular to shed awareness on this issue. So if you're reaching a lot of pushback from your patient, even non-compliance, it's not necessarily that she just doesn't want to listen to your recommendations or she doesn't care. It might come from a really deep-seated fear that you might not have to worry about that she does. So Again, I just wanted to share that patient story and react to this. I plan to react to a lot of other things in the future, hopefully some happier, funnier things as well. If you like this react, you want me to react to other things, please share. Comment down below with other scenes or movies or TV shows you want me to react to. I would love to hear from you. All right, take care of yourselves and each other. I will see you next time. Goodbye.